Let me tell you about James Bond. Not the movie character, not Daniel Craig, not Roger Moore, the real one. His name was Fitzroy Maclean, Scottish diplomat, fluent in Russian, fluent in Persian, educated at Eton and Cambridge, British Foreign Office. On paper, a career bureaucrat. In reality, escaped from the Soviet Union, alone, without permission, helped found the SAS with David Stirling, parachuted into Nazi-occupied Yugoslavia, led guerrilla operations behind German lines, kidnapped a German general, became Churchill's personal envoy, and inspired Ian Fleming to create James Bond. Fleming said it himself. Fitzroy Maclean was the template, the diplomat who fought, the soldier who negotiated, the man who could do both, and did. This is Fitzroy Maclean, the real man behind the most famous spy in history. And trust me, the real version is better than the fiction. Okay, let's start from the beginning, because to really understand this story, you need to know where this man came from. March 11th, 1911, Cairo, Egypt, born into a Scottish aristocratic family, Fitzroy Hugh Royal Maclean, Eton College, then Cambridge, England's finest schools. 1933, joined the British Foreign Office, career diplomat, desk, meetings, careful language. That was the plan. But Fitzroy Maclean didn't have much interest in plans. 1934, Fitzroy was posted to Moscow. British diplomatic mission. Stalin's Soviet Union. Show trials, purges, people disappearing. A dangerous place to be a foreigner. What would most diplomats do? Stay inside the embassy, safe, invisible, keep their heads down. What did Fitzroy do? Decided to explore the Soviet Union. By himself. There were regions completely forbidden to foreigners. Central Asia, the Caucasus, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan. Signs that basically said, you cannot come here. Fitzroy went anyway, no permission. Didn't ask anyone, packed a bag, got on a train, and left. Soviet authorities arrested him twice. Twice he talked his way out. How? His Russian was fluent. His mind was sharp. I'm a diplomat. This is just sightseeing. They believed him, both times. They put agents on him to follow him. He lost them. Came back to Moscow, wrote about it, called it a vacation. Ian Fleming read about this man years later and thought, that's my character. But wait, the war hadn't even started yet. This was just the warm-up. 1939, World War II started. Fitzroy looked at his desk, looked at the Foreign Office, and resigned. Joined the Army, Cameron Highlanders, Scottish Infantry Regiment. Started as an officer. But Fitzroy wasn't a normal soldier. Everyone figured that out pretty fast. 1941, North Africa. Another insane Scotsman named David Stirling had an idea. Small, fast, deep behind enemy lines, Special Air Service, the SAS. Fitzroy was part of it from the beginning. One of the founding officers. The first SAS operations were in North Africa. Hit German supply lines, sabotage airfields, disappear into the desert. Fitzroy fit right in. But the biggest mission hadn't come yet. 1943. The turning point of the war. Churchill had a problem on his desk. Yugoslavia. The Germans had it occupied. Two resistance groups fighting them. Chetniks, partisans. Which one should Britain support? That decision could change the course of the war. Churchill needed someone specific. Who would parachute into Yugoslavia, assess Tito's partisans, report directly back to Churchill himself, and actually come home alive? That person was Fitzroy Maclean. Churchill called him in personally, face to face. Churchill said, I'm sending you in. You'll meet Tito. Is he trustworthy? Should we back him? Tell me. Fitzroy's answer, understood. And he parachuted into Nazi-occupied Yugoslavia in 1943, behind German lines. Think about this for a second. You're a diplomat. A few years ago, you were at a desk. Now what are you doing? Jumping into enemy territory. At night. Alone. Fitzroy's mission was to find Tito's partisans. He found them. But finding them wasn't enough. He had to fight with them. Mountains, winter, German units everywhere. The partisans looked at him. Who is this British guy? Is he actually going to help? Fitzroy showed them. Weapons training, sabotage techniques, blew up bridges, set ambushes on German convoys, and most importantly, he kidnapped a German general. Kidnapping a general. Inside enemy lines. With a small team. Sounds like a Bond movie scene, right? Because this was the inspiration for those Bond movie scenes. Fitzroy reached Tito and assessed him. Tito was a communist. Churchill knew that, but Fitzroy's job wasn't ideology. It was winning the war. Fitzroy wrote his report to Churchill. Straight to the point. Is Tito a communist? Yes. Is he actually fighting the Germans? Also yes, the Chetniks aren't. Back Tito. Churchill trusted Fitzroy and backed Tito. That decision changed the Balkans campaign entirely. Tied down German forces in Yugoslavia. The partisans survived, fought, won. One man's report, one man's assessment, changed the course of a war. 1949. The war was over. Fitzroy wrote his book. Eastern Approaches, Moscow Adventures, SAS Operations, Yugoslavia. He told it all. The truth. No exaggeration needed, because the truth was already enough. Ian Fleming read that book. Fleming had his own interesting background. Naval intelligence, wartime espionage work. But when he read Fitzroy, he saw a character. 1952, Fleming's first Bond novel, Casino Royale. James Bond, Agent 007, fluent in multiple languages, comfortable in diplomatic circles, comfortable on a battlefield, uses his brain as much as his body. The diplomat who fights, the soldier who negotiates. People asked Fleming, who was Bond based on? He gave different answers over the years, but Fitzroy Maclean's name kept coming up. And look at this comparison. Fitzroy, British diplomat, fluent Russian and Persian, paratrooper, guerrilla leader, kidnapping operations, direct access to Churchill. Bond, British agent, multilingual, paratrooper, guerrilla tactics, kidnapping operations, direct access to MC coincidence? Fleming said no. 1945. War ended. Fitzroy came home. So what did he do? Became a member of Parliament. Lancaster Borough constituency. British Parliament. Politician. Okay, not totally surprising. But he also kept writing. Kept traveling. Eastern Approaches became a worldwide bestseller. Still in print today, still being read. Became Sir Fitzroy Maclean. First Baronet. Knighted. A fully official British legend. June 15, 1996. Fitzroy Maclean died, age 85, started as a diplomat, escaped the Soviet Union alone, helped found the SAS parachuted behind enemy lines, kidnapped a German general, advised Churchill personally, inspired James Bond, became a member of Parliament, became a best-selling author, and died at 85. One life. Enough for 10. Fitzroy thought it was just about right. Now hold on a second, because I should be honest about this. Was Fitzroy Maclean the Bond inspiration? Fleming pointed to other people too over the years. Patrick Dalzell Job, various agents, his own experiences. So Bond wasn't based on just one person, he's a composite character. But Fitzroy is at the top of that list. And think about what Bond actually is at his core. Talks like a diplomat, fights like a soldier, comfortable in both worlds, brain as powerful as the physical side, and always completes the mission. Fitzroy Maclean was exactly that. Foreign Office to SAS, negotiating table to parachute, diplomatic language to guerrilla warfare, perfect at both. Fleming's Bond was fiction. Fitzroy Maclean was real. And honestly, the real version is better. So what does Fitzroy Maclean's story actually teach us? A few things. First, don't let your label define your limits. Fitzroy was supposed to be a diplomat. His family, his school, his career path, everything said diplomat. Fitzroy said, and more than that. Your job title is not your ceiling. Second, curiosity is the most powerful weapon. When he went into the Soviet Union, he didn't have a gun. He had curiosity. He wanted to see the forbidden regions, so he went. Could have paid a serious price. but curiosity drove him forward, and he survived. Third, be ready when the moment comes. Churchill didn't pick Fitzroy by accident. Fitzroy had prepared himself, learned Russian, understood the Soviets, joined the SAS when war started. When the opportunity came, he was ready for it. Fourth, the truth is always better than fiction. Fleming invented Bond, but when you read about Fitzroy Maclean, you realize Fleming was mostly just taking notes. The real thing was already there. Let me ask you something. If you were a diplomat in the 1930s, working in the Soviet Union, and a forbidden country was spread out in front of you, what would you do? Stay at your desk or pack your bags? Fitzroy packed his bags and never stopped after that. Escaped the Soviet Union, alone, built the SAS from scratch, jumped into enemy territory at night, reported directly to Churchill, face to face, inspired James Bond, without even trying. Died at 85, no regrets. And you know what? Next time you watch a Bond movie, when you see that scene, the agent, the diplomat, the warrior, think of Fitzroy Maclean, because without him, there's no Bond. If this story got to you, hit that like button. Subscribe. We find stories like this every single day. Drop a comment. Did Fleming make the right choice? Was Fitzroy Maclean really the real James Bond? Let's debate it, because to have that debate, you first had to meet Fitzroy Maclean. Fitzroy Maclean, diplomat, agent, soldier, author, member of parliament, and the real face of James Bond. Some people inspire fiction. Fitzroy Maclean was the source code.